Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of my podcast. Welcome back. I know I missed a week last week. Oops, not after the big speech as well. At the end of the last episode, I'm like, yeah, bitches, I'm back here every Sunday, and then I'm just not. I did have an episode filmed, but in hindsight, I don't know, it just wasn't really, it wasn't giving what I wanted it to give. Do you know what I mean? And I think as I develop these kind of early episodes of the podcast, I'm trying to establish the topics that I do want to talk about, don't want to talk about, make me uncomfortable, make me annoyed, angry. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to kind of figure out what feels most comfortable and most just happiest for me to feel, because, you know, listen, I don't have a problem talking about like serious stuff, and I feel like a lot of black girls online shy away from talking about like real shit sometimes because, you know, they don't want to, I don't know what it is, why they do, but for me, I don't find it that deep to talk about the stuff I talk about because I know that I'm right. So I don't like, you know, I feel like people think I'm quite controversial, and I'm not at all. Like the stuff that I talk about, I don't think is controversial at all. I think perhaps for, you know, people, black girls in London, in the UK, for sure, I think they probably find my topics too like, oh my god, but to me and the people that I hang around with, like there's nothing that I talk about that is like revolutionary, but you know, given who the majority of my audience are, I think I just want to be mindful of just not offending people, not having conversations that they're not ready to have. As I've kind of explained, I'm still kind of in the like development-ish phase of the podcast. As I say, I do everything myself. So yeah, I'm trying to set myself up well for 2025. And part of that is understanding like what sorts of things I want to talk about, how I talk about them. And yeah, just making it a space for me where I feel like every week I can come, feel positive, feel good, and just talk about things that are happening in my life, things that I've been thinking about, things that I've seen, topics related to me, and just my personal journey of development. And I think that, starting this podcast for me was just so weird because it wasn't an intentional plan for 2024. You know, I had my 2024 plan, which was to stay employed at the business that I was at. I really enjoyed that job. I was really excited for that opportunity. I had every intention of staying there for a few years and really kind of, learning and growing in the role that I was in. And yeah, I was looking forward to that. So I didn't have any kind of plan Bs at that moment. But, you know, things I always think in hindsight, they always just happen the way that they need to happen. And actually having that experience and kind of being pushed to feeling as low as I did and have my confidence as low as it was actually ironically, you know, what I needed to get to where I am right now. Yeah, so in a way it was kind of like a somewhat of a blessing in disguise, I suppose. And you know, I've had other things I've worked on this year. My fiance, I don't know if I've mentioned, is a playwright and an actor, so he had a project that was on a kind of limited run of a new play that he'd written and was performing in as well. And I did the digital media and the marketing for that, and did the poster, designed the poster. And yeah, it's always fun collaborating with my fiance on projects. I think we work really well together. We've got like very, very similar personalities and, you know, ways of working and things like that. So when we get to collaborate on projects, it's always really fun, and we love spending time together, so it just gives us a reason to spend even more time together than we already do. So yeah, that was great. Went to Paris as well. Paris was great too. We had so much fun. We are desperate, like eager to go back. We can't wait. Yeah, and then of course I started this podcast, and while my first episode wasn't until, when did I start? September, I think I put the first episode out. I was actually working on the podcast all through summer. So from about April, May, that was when I started doing like the initial kind of plans for the podcast, getting everything in place. Of course, I had to do the branding, do the podcast artwork, get the podcast set up on the podcast platform. So there was a lot of work before that first episode. I was obviously as well still like navigating the aftermath of leaving the job that I did, so I wasn't actually feeling 100% myself. So it took a lot. Like that first episode that you see with me sat there, the hair perfectly curled, looking cute, like it took me a long while to get there, and I had that video for a very, very long time before I actually posted it, because I was still so anxious, I was still so self-conscious, I was still so feeling, you know, that I just wasn't any good at what I do. And yeah, it took a lot for me to put that first episode out, and it has been taking me a lot to do this podcast, because especially the first few episodes were done through, you know, tears and crying, and, you know, spending so much time having to have pep talks from my fiance telling me how amazing I am. Like there was a lot that it took to kind of get me to a point where I was able to sit and do it and then sit again and watch myself back and edit it and then put it up and then promote it. Like, it was a lot, and I was doing all of that at a time where I was feeling really, really, really crap about myself. So to see the growth, to see the kind of journey that it's been on, to see how many people have resonated with the podcast itself. I posted a clip of episode 1 on TikTok and it just blew up to the point where it kind of scared me. Which is why there's no more TikTok clips up on there yet, because yeah, it was a bit much for me. As I said, I'm a little bit shy, so I don't like too much attention like that. Yeah, it was positive to kind of see that, oh, okay, like there is a kind of lane for like what I talk about and how I am, and there are people that are interested in hearing from people like me. This is really positive. And on that note, I got my Spotify podcast wrapped back, so that's all the stats and exciting stuff for the podcast. And considering I've only done 6-7 episodes right now, I was really stunned at like the stats that I had. I really wasn't expecting much from the wraps at all. I thought it was going to be quite poor. I wasn't really thinking much, but I'll read you some of like the best ones, which are really cool and exciting. Okay, so the first is that my podcast has been streamed in 18 countries around the world, which is crazy for me. That's crazy. Yeah, I'm reaching, okay, international girl. No, I'm joking. But yeah, that's so cool to me, especially because of the year that I've had, where I feel like quite let down by my country, if I'm being honest. I will talk a little bit more about my last episode and also answer some of the comments that were under the YouTube video. But yeah, like I feel just a little bit disappointed with my country this year and my hometown of London. It's let me down a bit, and I think seeing that people across the world at least resonate with what I say, and they see value in like what I do and what I think about the world, like that's been very affirming for me. And I'm not someone who often needs a lot of external validation from people, but I think after the experiences that I've had like so closely together over the last few years, it's been really nice to have that kind of affirmation again. And yeah, for those of you that don't know, I started my online kind of platforms presences on YouTube and Instagram when I was like 17, 18. And yeah, I've always just documented and shared my thoughts and my journey of life online. And I never did it initially to grow a following. It wasn't with the intention of, oh my God, I want to do this or be that. It was always just, what I enjoyed. And I think sometimes when you exist in the world as a dark-skinned girl like I do, there aren't really a lot of avenues where you get the opportunity to express yourself or to be allowed to have thoughts or talk about fun stuff, to be a young girl and things. And there are a lot of people that loved keeping up with me from like 18 to 22 because I would talk about like my dating stories and all these other crazy things. And I had a fun 18 to 22 for me was some really, really fun years. A lot of like difficult stuff that I was navigating in my personal life, but in terms of the experiences that I was having, the things that I was doing, the places I was going, the people I was meeting, like I had a flipping time. I really did. But also simultaneously, I'm 28 now. I've grown up and I've had a professional career for like the last 6 years as well. So I'm in a completely just different space. I don't even know what I was talking about. This is so bad. What was I saying? I feel like I've yapped for too long. Anyway, all that to say that, yeah, it's been somewhat just of a journey this year. And I feel like me starting a podcast on basically my 10th year of doing like content creation online, it feels right, and I feel like the reception that I've been getting to it feels with what I would expect after doing it for this long and having the growth that I've had, the experiences that I've had. And it feels very calming and grounding to just be doing it. Like I don't feel... So when I do feel overwhelmed, I'm also like, bitch, you've been doing this. Like, it's not that deep. So, yeah, I love it. And another stat was, my show is in... Okay, let me just read it out. Your show was in the top 25% of video podcasts on Spotify. What? The top 25%. And I've only got 6 or 7. I think this is episode 7. I've only got a few episodes out. That is crazy to me. As in, not the podcast that I've been putting together while I've been depressed. No, for real, not the podcast that had to come together like in between tears, honestly. I was like wiping my tears and then like, self-taking my photos for my podcast artwork and stuff. So all things considered, I am like really happy with that. That's honestly just like brightened up the end of my year so much. And I just want to say such a big thank you to yeah, those of you that have been supporting from the start, there's a few of you, as I said, that I see on YouTube that are just, yeah, being really supportive, really encouraging, and it means so much to me. It really, really does. And yeah, thank you for just giving me like this strength and courage to carry on, because I get anxious. As I said, I get anxious, I get shy, and don't get it confused. There's sometimes where I just want to take down everything. Let's take it all down. Let's deactivate everything. Let's take it all down, because I just get like that. And when I read like really nice comments, really supportive comments from people, I'm like, okay, cool. I'll come back for another week. I'll come back for another week. So yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And as part of like reflecting on the year I've had, I think like such a big theme as well has been like the need to protect my peace, the need to protect myself. And you know, I just have never, as I said in my last video, I've never really perceived myself as someone that other people would and could be envious of. I've never really thought about the concept of people being like envious of me and my life, and probably because I'm not an envious person towards other people, so I never really thought that anyone would be having those kind of feelings towards me. But I think in 2024, bitches are envious. Bitches are envious for sure. And I think for me, I find jealousy and envy to be quite scary emotions to deal with from other people. I really do. And not because there's anything inherently bad about them. I think to experience jealousy and envy are like very normal emotions to have. I think it's what you do with those emotions that's a bit more important. Do you know what I mean? And I think some people are able to manage that envy, and yes, they might be envious of you, but they're not going to let that cloud how they see you. They're not going to let that impact how they treat you and how they are towards you. But unfortunately, that's not everyone. That's not everyone. And one thing I found this year is that, especially at this age, I feel like it's this age, this late 20s, where, you know, people's paths are perhaps starting to look a little bit more defined. And for some people, that's great, that's positive. For me, it's looking great. Like 2025, I cannot wait. I can't express how excited I am for 2025. I'm so excited. I'm rounding off the year so good. I'm so happy. Yeah, I just feel in a really good place. But I appreciate that's not the story for everyone. But yeah, as I said, it's how that kind of envy or whatever is managed. And I found that this year, some people have really shown themselves to me in really ugly ways that I just never even imagined that they would have the capacity to act like, or that they would even have the capacity to have those kind of thoughts towards me. And I found it quite scary. You know, it's scary. I don't like knowing that people think like that towards me. And it's sad because I never, do you know what I mean? Like, I might have a little gossip, a little bitch about people, let's be real, everybody does, but I've never felt genuine, like, hatred. Like, I don't want bad things to happen to people, or, you know, I don't want, you know, I would never try and stop someone's bag or something because of, no, like, do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I've learned a lot, like, of lessons this year that are really important, and I think I've learned the importance of protecting my peace. And I grew up listening and loving drill music, because I just feel like a lot of drill artists, they talk about real shit, you know, you can tell they've dealt with a lot. And obviously I don't relate in terms of like, you know, committing crimes and stabbing people and chefing people up and stuff like that. But in terms of the interpersonal relationships that they discuss a lot, in terms of dealing with friendships when you're on the path of success, or on a path that is very filled with light and promise, and how people react to that. And if you listen to a lot of UK rappers, especially the London ones, I love the London ones. I like Central C, I like Blanco, I like Clavish. There's a lot more that I like, but yeah, I like them because when they rap, Dave as well, I mentioned, you can kind of hear the realness in them. And I love the way they talk about interpersonal relationships, because often there's similar things that I've experienced as well, where the switch up from people when, you know, they feel like your life is getting too good for them. And especially if you are not the person that they saw having a certain type of life, having a certain type of success, achieving a certain type of thing, getting to do a certain type of thing. If you are not the image in their heads of what they believe someone should look like, who should have those opportunities, things can start to get a bit weird. And I've definitely noticed that energy from some people, and I've had to act accordingly. And from the outside looking in, I'm sure it might seem a bit like, oh, I don't know what I did. That's fine. You don't need to know what you did. I know what you did, and I know what you consistently did. Because for me, when I get to the point where I don't really like someone anymore, I just don't really fuck with them like that, there's no explanation needed. There's no explanation needed. And I think it's funny to me when people talk a lot about like ghosting, and, you know, let them tell it, oh, I think it's so nasty that this person ghosted. They didn't say anything about what I did. They didn't give me the chance to fix it. in my experience over the last decade of trying to have conversations with people, honest conversations, most people aren't trying to hear it. They're not trying to hear it. They go straight to the defense, they go straight into the attack, and there is just no like learning or hearing or understanding trying to happen. And I've just learned that for me, what's good for me, and keep it stepping, just chop, 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 keep it stepping, that's it. And yeah, as I said in episode 2, like that method works for me. That works for me 100%. What doesn't work for me is being surrounded by people whose intentions I can't really trust. I don't even know if you like me. I don't even know, you know, and in this world, don't get it twisted. There's people that will literally hang around you and despise you, but they know that, you know, you're going somewhere, you're going to do. And I said that I would answer some comments and questions that people left under the last episode. Let me just get some of them up. Okay, someone says, I'm not apologising for being a black feminine woman. I'm not apologising for being a black woman. I'm not apologising for being black. I absolutely hear that, and I mantra, like, repeat that. I 100% hear that. I don't know what, like, the big issue is that people have with, like, girls, black girls that are feminine, especially, like, dark-skinned girls, my skin tone or darker. We are really not allowed to be feminine. Like, I don't know what it is that people seem to think that we're all like, I love being feminine. I like pink. Like, my microphone is pink. Everything I own is, like, pink. I'm a girly girl. I love Barbie. I used to wear pink so much when I was younger. Of course, I went through my little tomboy phase. I love, like, video games and stuff like that. But I like to be girly. Do you know what I mean? And I even remember being younger at school, and it used to be, like, a badge of pride that some girls would wear that they could fight. One of the secondary schools that I went to was an all-girls school, and I remember, like, people just used to try to, like, pick on me a little bit in the fact that I couldn't fight. And I never really understood what the diss was supposed to be. Like, why would I want to fight? In the words of Ice Spice, I don't like fighting. Like, why do I need to fight? And that used to be a real source of, like, picking on me for that I didn't know how to fight, or that I was skinny or weak or whatever. It's like, I don't know who it is that you are all preparing to fight. I don't know what battle it is that you're preparing to go into. But yes, I don't fight. I don't need to fight. I'm a girl. What am I fighting for? And I think that upsets people. I really do. I think that people seem to have a real problem when a dark-skinned black girl is just really feminine and just really girly, because there are so many stereotypes, as I spoke about, I think in, like, episode 3, about the different stereotypes that exist, especially about dark-skinned girls. And yeah, I know the world hates to see a well-spoken dark-skinned girl who is pretty and slim and takes care of her body and what she eats and is in a good, healthy relationship, and she's got a great career. Like, I know the world hates to see that. And someone mentioned that under my first episode, you know, like, oh, you know, people were perhaps envious of you. And I thought, oh, God, no, like, you know, what's there to be envious of? But actually, sorry, as the months have gone on and I've regained my confidence and remembered who the fuck I is, I don't doubt that the bitches were envious, yeah, you know. And I think my life, in general, like, me as a person in my life, absolutely triggers the fuck out of some people. Like, they just cannot stand it. And as I said, I've been documenting my life since I was 18, so there have been so many points in my life where, like, people have thought that, you know, I wasn't going to make anything of myself. And especially when I dropped out of university, like, bloody hell, people really acted like I was crashing all the way down to the bottom. And it was so dramatic to me because that was never happening. But I don't know, I guess people are just so scared of, like, doing anything outside of what they think they should be doing, that me, by comparison, I've always looked like I'm crashing out, but it's like I'm not. I'm always just choosing to do things that I want to do. And yeah. Okay, yes, this comment. So someone said, thank you for this episode and for freely sharing your experiences, because I'm 12 minutes deep and already rethinking my plan to get my PhD in London. That report is wild. What kind of deep gaslighting? Oh my God. First of all, oh my God, do not hinge you coming to London to do your PhD based on my video. Please don't do that. I'll feel so bad. Listen, my grievances, as I said, with the City of London are personal. Do you know what I mean? I'm London born and raised, and I think sometimes when you are, like, born, living, raised in a place, you have a very different experience to people that you know, aren't from that place. And I always say, I always envy people that, like, don't live in big cities and they get to move to the big city and have their kind of, you know, big city rebirth or whatever, because I feel like, yeah, when you're from somewhere, you don't really get to look at the city with rose-tinted glasses. And yeah, London's a really cool place and a very interesting place in terms of, like, wealth distribution and disparity. Like you see both sides of them. You see both sides of life in very, very close proximity to each other. So when you grow up with it, things that other people find to be really deep, like the concept of moving to London and starting like a big new job, like that doesn't really exist when you're from London. It's just another job. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's kind of don't let my experience put you off. Objectively, London is incredible. Like 100% you should visit. And in terms of doing your PhD, there are so many international students in London, so many. And yeah, again, as I said, I feel like if you are foreign, yeah, people are friendly. People like people that are a little bit different, from somewhere different. Do you know what I mean? You'd probably have a really good time. So yeah, don't hinge your decision to come or not come on my one podcast episode. Please don't do that. I can guarantee that you'll have an amazing time in London. And yeah, London's absolutely great. I just have been here for way too long and it's just a bit long for me. But yeah, that's my personal problems. And happy birthday to you. Thank you. My birthday was like 3 months ago now. I need to stop talking about it. But hit the nail on the head when you said it's very difficult to exist in the world the way I see myself. 100%. It's so true. And I think that's what I've realised. And I feel like being in my professional career has really shown this issue to me, because I am in a space where I can't control, I don't choose who is around me every day. So there are people from all sorts of walks of life that are going to have all sorts of ideas about me. And I think as well for me, you know, the fact that I've grown up in other places up and down the UK as well, there's just a lot of people that know me from a lot of different backgrounds. And I think oftentimes with me, with some of these people, there's just a lot of projection, you know, what they think about themselves, they project out onto me. And I naturally am a very comfortable person in my own skin. I'm very confident. I love my skin colour. I've never had issues with being dark skin or being black or anything like that. So as much as I was talking about like racist white people in my previous episode, there are also times where there is a certain level of anti-blackness that comes from other black people, where I've had other dark-skinned black people, men and women, because of how they feel about their skin tone and they feel about being dark-skinned, they have tried to, you know, push that onto me and make me feel like I should have some sort of issue with being dark-skinned, or that I'm not as attractive or beautiful or pretty as I think that I am because I'm dark-skinned. And in hindsight, I feel really sorry for these people, because, as I said, I wasn't raised like that, you know. My the second part of my childhood after my mum passed away was very different, and you know, a completely different culture and a completely different, you know, situation, you know, the horrible things I had to navigate there. But you know, my first formative years, you know, with my mum being the way that she was a very worldly, very intellectual, very smart, you know, lady. Yeah, it was all positive. It was all very, very positive. And my mum taught me to love my skin, to be proud of my skin, to stand tall, like in my blackness and darkness, and to always feel pretty and cute and special and princessy. Like that's how she treated me. So that is the treatment that I've carried on into adulthood. So when people try to make me feel like I'm not who I know I am, it's giving, yeah. At 28, I feel like I have the autonomy now over my life to be able to take action and be like, right, well, what sort of life then am I going to craft for myself? Because clearly this life where I'm trying to lead, where I am full-time employed at businesses, that's never going to go the way that I want it to go. And unless I'm willing to change myself or act in the way that I know I need to kind of act in order to be successful in those spaces, I need to remove myself. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not here to be an activist, and I want to make that very flipping clear. In this episode, is that I'm not an activist. I don't care to be an activist. I don't care to talk endlessly about black topics. I don't care. And I think sometimes there is some sort of expectation when it comes to dark-skinned girls that we should be relegated to talking about these issues. Meanwhile, other people who have got way more privilege, way more power, way more the ability to actually enact, you know, do more, they don't do anything. They wait for people like me to sit around and talk about issues in the corporate world and talk about issues in African culture. And no, you know, that's not my role. Like, that's not what I'm here to do. I've lived that. I've been through that. I've experienced it more than enough to last me a lifetime, to the point where I've experienced those things and they've changed my life trajectory. So I don't want to keep talking about them. It's not my responsibility to talk about them. I appreciate that just some people have reached out and you want me to come on your podcast and talk about, you know, certain things. I don't really want to do that respectfully, not in a disrespectful way. It's just not what I'm about. You know, I'm in a season where, as I said, I feel so happy and I feel so full of light for the future, and you know, that's what I want to focus on. I want to focus on continue my journey online and share my life and share my learnings and share my ups and downs, because, you know, when I was sharing them in 2018, it wasn't cool to talk about, you know, your emotions and feelings as a dark-skinned girl. It wasn't cool to be emotional and to have, you know, share like intimate feelings and share your lows. And especially in African culture, it's not very heard of, you know, for people to publicize struggles that they're going through. That is seen as a negative. And I don't doubt that my content and things that I've posted have been sent around certain African communities and people have their opinions, but I don't care about any of that. Do you know what I mean? I'm living the life that I'm living, and I'm so happy, and yeah, that's just what I want to focus on. So yeah, and this comment was interesting. So while my parents and grandparents did a decent job communicating this to me as a kid, what I wasn't expecting is the people that don't like you would also be the people that look like you. Until I moved away from a predominantly Black/Caribbean environment where there was clearly prejudice, I had encountered quite some open people that didn't look like me and found myself in safer groups for the majority of my time out of my hometown. I guess what I mean to say is no one prepared me for the moment I realised how trash people are in general. I'm screaming at the last sentence, that's so true. I feel like that's what I've learned as well. I feel like I give people the benefit of the doubt way too much. Like in my eyes, everyone's like a nice person, and if they're not, it's probably just because they've been through some stuff. But no, I'm actually getting to the point where I'm like, nah, most people, guilty until proven innocent, most people in my experience are just not very nice. And for me, yeah, I'm in a period where you need to show me that you are a nice person who respects Black girls and respects dark-skinned girls before I feel comfortable around you, because my experience has taught me that sometimes it's just, too many times it's the other way around. And I'm, yeah, getting to a space, as I said, where I need to grow up and I need to just learn to be more mindful of the people that I spend time around, the people that I allow access to me and my life. And yeah, that's so interesting that you said that until you moved away from a predominantly Black Caribbean environment where there was clearly prejudice. For me, it's almost the opposite. Until I moved away from a predominantly Black African environment, things didn't change for me. Now, actually, in hindsight, when I was growing up and I was a little bit younger, people always used to assume that I was Caribbean, and I never really got it. I never got why they thought I was Caribbean. I was always really flattered because I love Caribbeans. I love Caribbean culture so, so much. And in all of my life, especially in my early 20s when I was working in retail, a lot of the nicest people to me that I worked with, a lot of the older ladies who would always try to give me, you know, some life advice that I wasn't always ready to hear, but, you know, it's stuck in my head now, and I get what you were saying now. But yeah, I had so many older Caribbean ladies that were just so kind to me. They really just checked in on me. They made sure that I was always like on time for work and stuff like that. Yeah, just really, really kind people. And when I look back at school as well, like all of the people that used to try and like diss me or humble me or whatever, sorry to say, they were African. And, you know, the people that weren't doing that, the people that thought that I was just silly or funny, or even if they didn't think that, they weren't like trying to be mean to me, were often Caribbean. So yeah, it's weird as I've grown up. I tend to gravitate towards Caribbeans a bit more. And also growing up, my mum used to have some Caribbean friends as well that were so, so lovely. So I've always associated Caribbeans with just like nice stuff. I think they do cool things. They make cool art. They make the sickest like music and stuff like that, especially in London. Yeah, so that is also something I've had to learn. When I look at patterns of people that don't like me, who look like me, there is sometimes a pattern. And yeah, as I get older, not necessarily that, oh, I don't want to talk to anyone who's African or I don't associate with Africans. No, it's not that. For me, it's just being, you know, mindful. And, you know, the Africans I do associate with and the Black British Africans that I associate with, they've got to be people who have a level of respect for me, because I think that, you know, there's certain parts of African culture, especially in specific countries, where the way in which people like me, with upbringings like mine, with skin tones like mine, skin colours like mine, are looked at, it's disgusting to me. Like, truly, I do find it disgusting, and I find it so uncomfortable to be around, and just really weird. It's really, really weird. As you said, it's strange when it's from your own people, but yeah, I don't waste time anymore with people that don't fuck with me. I fuck with those that fuck with me. So that's where we're at. And yeah. And another comment, this video was beautiful and I resonated with so much of what you were saying. I also refuse to work a job for 8 hours a day that I don't enjoy and I'm disrespected. The money is not worth it. I really resonate with your Black experience as a working class woman who also doesn't feel she has to stick in that box. You're allowed to pursue big dreams and engage in middle class activities. I'm a Black working class woman, but I grew up in Somerset and I went to school in Bath. Oh my God, middle class girl. I was completely surrounded by middle class people and it's influenced the way I live my life. And I 100% hear that. And yeah, it's the same for me. I feel like, as I said, I had such a mixed kind of upbringing at different points in my life having a big influence in middle class culture and working class culture. So to me, there's certain things where I just can't be bothered for the class differences. I don't care. I don't find it shocking or surprising. Like, you know, when I went on a work trip, so many people on that trip seemed to be so surprised that I could speak French. It's like, well, started learning it when I was 7 years old, and we all learn it in school from, like, you know, our secondary years at school. So I don't know why it's so surprising that I know how to speak French. You know, this wasn't anything super like negative, but it's just little thoughts that people have like that, where it's just like, why do you have that thought? But yeah, I'm just at a phase now where I don't really care about people's different thoughts about me. If I make people uncomfortable, that's something that they need to go and unpack themselves. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, that's what I've realised. I feel like I have worked so hard to like get to where I am in life, both mentally, physically, career-wise, relationship-wise, everything. I've worked so hard on myself because I wanted a very specific life for myself. So I don't have the energy anymore to keep making excuses for people that just refuse to do the work for themselves to go and live and be the people that they want to be. Like, I don't care anymore, do you know what I mean? I think when I was younger and everyone's younger, you have a lot more capacity to deal with people's bullshit because we're all trying to figure it out. We're all young, no one knows what they're doing. But 25 onwards, I think that, yeah, like some personal responsibility needs to come into place. And I've done the work, and I've done the work to be in a place where I feel the way that I feel most days, which is really happy, really positive, just filled with love, being with my fiance every day and just, yeah, loving life. I've worked so hard to get that, and we've worked so hard together to create a really peaceful environment full of love and just, yeah, just I love it so much. I'm not going to let people ruin that. I really can't let people tread on that. I can't let people get in the way of that, and I will do what I need to do to protect that and to protect my peace. And I think it's so important as Black women, especially if you've come up in an environment, anything similar to what I've talked about, you really need to get serious about how you protect that peace. And this, I've seen people try to have, you know, one foot in, one foot out. Well, I'll kind of talk to this person, but I don't know if that works. In my personal experience, you do have to make serious decisions, and someone who has taken the courage to make the decisions that I have in life in order to live the life that I do, I don't take too kindly to people disrespecting that or thinking that it came from nowhere or that I didn't put the work in to get it. Yeah, I don't tolerate that at all, because I know what it takes to be where I am today, to feel the way that I feel, to have what I have, and it's not been easy. It's not been handed to me. It's not anything that I haven't had to work tooth and nail to get. So yeah, like that's where I'm at. And the last one, someone asked if I'm a Scorpio. My birthday is October 2, the 30th. No, girl, I'm a Libra. I'm 21st of October. I'm born on the same day as Kim K, which for me is great. I really like Kim Kardashian. I think she's so glamorous. I think she's so like Libra coded. It makes sense. I get her. I think she's cool. But yeah, those comments from the last episode, thank you so much for leaving them. And I'm glad that that video resonated with you. I felt really good about myself making that episode, like watching it back, uploading it. It felt really good, and it felt like the direction that I'm trying to go in my life, with the podcast, with my other endeavours, just positive and good and grounded and calm and clarity and peace and everything that I love in life. So yeah, I'm so glad that it resonated with other people in that same way as well. And yeah, I think I'm going to wrap up this episode. Obviously we are coming up to Christmas. Let me give you a Christmas timetable, because I like to take time off for Christmas. I'm not a workaholic. I don't like the grind. I think that is cringe when people don't know how to take breaks from like doing work and stuff like that. So yes, in terms of episodes, we'll be doing the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd. I'll be taking a break, so there won't be an episode on the 29th. But we'll be back on the 5th of Jan to get started for the new year. So 3 episodes until the end of the year. I'm really excited. As I said, thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting me. This podcast has honestly been such a journey. This whole year has been so much for me. I haven't felt so low in my 20s than I have in 2024. Yeah, it was crazy. My Spotify Wrapped came back, the music one, not the podcast one, and my song of the year is Clavish Traumatized. Like, I can't make this shit up if I tried. Like, I've been through the ringer this year. You know, I just like to sort my shit out in private, you know, wipe my tears, get my face on, and just get out there. But yeah, I've been through it, and I feel like that being my song choice sums it up. But also, that is just a very good song. Like, it's not even a sad song. Like, I turn up to that song, I do my makeup to that song. I love the song so much, and I believe the album went like gold this year as well in the UK. So well done, Clavish. I really like Clavish, and I hope that he sees a lot more success with his music and stuff as well. But anyway, that's it for this episode. I will see you next Sunday. I hope you enjoy it. I don't know what else to say. This is just, it's getting cringe now. Bye, guys.